Welcome to CG Live. Pastor Tim here. I get to have an awesome conversation around our need for community. And we got Small Group Sunday coming up. But before we get to that, here is your weekly connection. Mom Co. It's taking place this Friday, September 6th, calling all moms. We know motherhood is a beautiful journey, but let's be real, it's also messy, exhausting, and sometimes downright hard. That's why we're inviting you to MomCo, a space to breathe, connect, recharge with other Christian moms who truly get it. They're walking that journey with you. So whether you're celebrating a victory or navigating a tough season, MomCo is here for you. Our gatherings are designed to refresh you spiritually, mentally, physically, relationally. So take this moment to check out the description for all the information about MomCo starting this Friday, September 6th. Small Group Sunday, this Sunday, September 8th at Christ Greenfield. Community is a heart of everything we do, which is why we're thrilled to invite you to Small Group Sunday. We're going to have all sorts of dedicated leaders, those who are leaders, those who are coaches, and if you're ready to take your next step, we're talking about it a lot. Or maybe you've fallen out of a small group. It's a great chance to reboot our relationships. We are not meant, as followers of Jesus, to walk alone. Last point, Belong class. This is our formerly Discover class. We got a group behind the scenes that have been doing a lot of work to make this super, super deep and applicable for you. Starting on Sunday, September 15th, Belong is an essential for anyone looking to truly connect and grow within the Christ Greenfield community. This 8-week course, formerly known as Discover, is designed to help you understand the core values that define and drive our Christ Greenfield community. So whether you're new or simply seeking a deeper connection, Belong will help you take that next step on your journey with Jesus. Here's the awesome opportunity too. It's going to be at the Gilbert campus. You can go to 9 o'clock worship and then come and join us at 10 a.m. in our school theater at the Gilbert campus. Would love to have many of you come to our Belong sermon. It's not even a sermon series, our Belong study. There it is, to help you take your next steps. With that, here is our CG Live conversation with Pastor Michael. Welcome to CG Live. Pastor Tim Allman here with the one and only Pastor Michael Hayden. Today we're talking about the need for community. We are better together, and small groups in particular in light of Small Group Sunday coming up. You just mentioned June Jensen, longtime member at Christ Greenfield, going to be with the Lord, praying for Brian and all who are grieving. But when you have a funeral, I think that's kind of a litmus test for the depth of relationship that an individual. It's one sign, right? And you were telling me there were a lot of people that came to her funeral from Christ Greenfield. Obviously, her family, a very connected and loved lady. Isn't that right?
It is true. Yeah. You can take a look around, and when you see that number of people, and you're like, man, it's just like a testimony to that the person's impact, their relationships, how much they loved, and how well they were loved in return. And then too, when as a pastor, you love to see it because you just want people to be cared for. When you see that many people, there's a big community around that family that past today will have people to love them and support them. It's so huge. Yeah.
Well, isolation is absolutely a killer today. You look at maybe our youngest generations. One of our biggest heart cries, I think, as pastors, are people deeply connected in relationship, discipleship relationships. Why? Because life will inevitably get hard. And while you're an amazing spiritual care pastor for us, you're one guy that's limited to one space, but there's so much. I mean, just look at our prayer list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens of people walking through some element of trauma, and we care about them being in relationship with people to point them to Christ in the midst of the trauma. Anything more to say about utility?
The
utility of small groups.
Utility small groups. The body of Christ together is such a gift to the pastor because, I want everybody to be cared for. And when I know that somebody's in a small group, it does lift a little of the burden because I know they are being cared for. That if I miss it, because we miss stuff, luckily I know they have a support system around them that can care for them. Because it's so vital, it's so important to have people around you because life does get hard, that are going to be with you and for you. And when somebody's in a small group, they're not alone.
Everybody, if you've been around Christ Greenfield for a while, we got big dreams. We want to grow. We want to reach people. Lots of different types of ministries, etc. But I would love to grow and get small at the same time. Isn't that it? I think a lot of times people look at, well, if you're going to grow, then we're going to lose something. We're going to lose depth of relationship and things. I think the early church is a great model of getting big and getting small at the same time. Have you ever thought about that, Michael?
Yeah, actually, one of my pastor mentors, like right out of seminary, Pastor Mike Lutz, that was like his phrase all the time. He's like, as we grow larger, we must grow smaller. Mm-hmm. And kind of highlighting, like as you grow larger, you got to get people more connected into like small groups, whether that be Bible study or small groups in general, just like,
It seems as if that is what Jesus was doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the masses were coming. He's feeding the 5,000 others, but he's deeply pouring into 12 who would then do the same. That's how multiplication actually happens. Where we get kind of stuck, I think, in ministry is when we look at pastors and we're like, one of two things happens. We're like, man, they're pretty amazing. We're just normal.
That happens to us all the time.
No, very normal guys. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Or then pridefully we kind of put them on this pedestal and you just receive from them. It appears as if in our walk with Jesus, you're always receiving, and the best sign that you've received is that you give it away. Right? So you're in relationship, you're being discipled, and then you're discipling others. There's a mutuality to it. There's an exchange to it. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that always is the nature of God, is you give what you have received. Mm-hmm. And it always starts that way. It always starts with like God towards us. And it's never just for us, but you extend it out to others. And there is like, you get to step into the very heartbeat of God, because there's so much joy in giving what you have received. I mean, just think of like Christmas. It's great to receive gifts, and it's always a lot of fun, but think about like when you give somebody that one gift you know they're going to love, right? You light up because you're giving, and there's just so much joy in that.
Have you ever thought about the cruciform nature of life, that Jesus died hands out for the world, right? And even our bodies themselves, like we're linear, and we're also vertical, we go the horizontal at the same time. And that's kind of the picture of the Christian life, kind of the two kinds of righteousness too. It comes down to us freely, and then we freely give it away. And if it's just a one-sided thing, if it's just you and Jesus, you're really, really missing out, because it's you and Jesus. Our God is intimately personal, but he also is remarkably communal. And I think that's one of the divine mysteries of the Trinity itself, right?
Yeah.
Distinct three persons, and yet one, perfectly in fellowship with one another, and yet one God. Yeah. Anything more to say about like when let me ask this, when we're missing Christian community, when we're stuck, when we're isolated, our journey with Jesus, like our love for the Lord is stifled when we're walking alone.
Yeah, I had a professor give this really like interesting example. He gave the story of like this young pastor goes to this new community, and there's a member that doesn't seem to like him, and so in this small church, and so he stops going. And so
the pastor stopped going.
No, the older member that did.
He's
like
just like, I'm out.
I'm out. The pastor's done. I'm not showing up on Sundays.
Yeah.
So this young pastor works up the courage to go to his house, and the old farmer opens the door, and he comes in, and he sits next to him, and it's awkwardly quiet. Nobody says anything. They're just sitting in front of the fire. Well, the young pastor goes up, and he takes a log out of the fire and sets it aside. And now what happens to a log outside? It diminishes, right? It's still maybe embers and like, smolders a little bit. And so there's still maybe some semblance of a fire, but like you need the whole fire. And so just kind of like he removed himself from the community, and we were never meant to walk this road, life or faith, alone. Like we need each other to like fan the flame of faith. And so that image is always like stuck with me.
Don't remove your log. We need your log here. I'm sorry, but that's what you're working with. Yeah, keep engaged. And when you are not a part of the body of Christ, not just in worship for sure, but then depth of relationship, the body of Christ is not as strong. as light-filled as it could and should be. So closing, let's give a call to action. People are maybe on the sidelines. We're hoping that a number of people, not just maybe join, but there's an awesome opportunity for you to just grab 2 or 3 of your friends and families, and we'll give you everything you need to launch a small group at Christ Greenfield. Go into a little more detail.
Yeah, because sometimes it can be scary to like join one when you don't like know anybody.
The outsider.
You can be brave, and there's a lot of groups that are open, and you can do that. But maybe it's just a matter of like, yeah, I've already got people in my life, and I just need to add some intentionality around it. Really, I think that a lot of the Christian life is like if you just add intentionality with what God has already given you, you'd be shocked at like what's already there. And so yeah, maybe it is like you just need to grab a friend or two. Yeah, we have all the training, all the stuff you need, and so you could take that courageous next step and be like, I want to bring some intentionality to the people God's put in my life. Boom, there's a small group, you know. Or if you're like I'm open to one, there's a lot of options, you know. If you go to the small group page, there's a whole list of like where they're at and ones that are open. Yeah.
So people may wonder, Pastor Tim, Pastor Michael, are you in a small group? Well, yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It is.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not pastor there. I'm just Tim there. We're friends. And ours is made up of a number of folks that we've been friends with for a very, very long time. And so it's just a healthy space.
Yeah. Ours is like friends that live kind of like geographically like close to us with kids around the same age, which is really like for us, we need people to occupy our kids so that we can actually have adult conversations. So
it's so good. So any other calls to action though?
And if you are currently in one, man, just take time to celebrate. Yeah. And thank God for the people He's put in your life. Yeah.
We're absolutely better together, and we have big dreams to launch new ministries, to reach new people, to try and serve felt needs, that whole thing. But if we miss on, I'm a football coach right now, right? If we miss on blocking and tackling, which is just the core relate. If we miss on that, it's all the rest of it could go away. So we're trying to grow big and grow small at the same time.
Yeah,
Michael.
you do need those fundamentals.
You do need those fundamentals.
Yeah. Small groups are.
It's not always fun though. You know, I want to I want to catch the touchdown. I want to do all that kind of stuff. My son's a wide receiver, but unless you can make a block on a sweep, who cares? Right?
Yeah.
Do your job, church. This is your. I'm sorry, my coach is coming out.
Yeah.
This is your invitation. It's not your job. It's your calling to live in deep relationship with Jesus and with one another. And then arms locked. I like the image of we're not holy huddles, right? Like turned in. Picture a huddle that's arms out, interlocked, but for the world, that the world would see us, our love, the way we love one another, and say, wow, there's something different about them. They must be Jesus followers, and praise be to God for that. It's a good day. Go make it a great day, Michael. Great work as always. We'll see you next time on CG Live.